This government takes road safety very seriously, and reducing those killed and injured on our roads is a key priority. The department is currently considering policy options in this area, and my right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Transport, is meeting with campaigners this week. Whilst we are not considering graduated driving licences, we absolutely recognise that young people are disproportionately victims of tragic incidents on our roads, and we are considering other measures to tackle this problem and protect young drivers.
When a young person passes their driving test, it is an occasion for pride and congratulation. It is seldom mentioned that they've been put in charge of a lethal weapon. Any subsequent accident which brings about their death or the death of their friends causes excruciating pain to their families and survivors and begs many questions. Does the Minister agree with me, therefore, that we should be doing more to mitigate these terrible circumstances? Would he support the suggestion that for 6 months after a driving test is passed, the driver should only be allowed one passenger located in the front seat? And does he agree that before a test is taken, the learner driver should be made to watch the film produced by County Fire and Rescue Services, which narrates in graphic detail the role played by fire, police and ambulance when a fatal accident occurs?
Every death on our roads is a tragedy, and our thoughts remain with the families of everyone who has lost a loved one in this way. As I said, the Secretary of State is meeting with some campaigners who tragically are in that position this week. There is a form of restricting novice drivers through the Road Traffic (New Drivers Act 1995. On acquiring their first full licence, a new driver is on probation for 2 years, and during that time they're subject to a more rigorous limit of penalty points, and if they breach that, they will lose their full licence. I haven't seen the film that the Noble Lord refers to, but we'll certainly give that some thought.
Granted that the priority must be to deal with the backlog of young people taking their driving test in order to increase their productivity. Is it not also a time to look again at the basic driving test, whereby a young person can pass their driving test and drive away from that test for the first time on either a motorway or in the dark?
The government and its agency are working extremely hard to reduce the backlog of driving test appointments, but it's also quite clear that people should be ready for the test at the time that they present themselves to take it. The department's Think campaign, which is a road safety campaign, is aimed primarily at young men aged 17 to 24, and it focuses on a number of priority issues, all of which would help to reduce death and serious injury both to that category and to other road users.
My Lords,
Given the significant increase in low-powered motorcycles and scooters being ridden on L plates for food deliveries, what plans does the government have to strengthen the compulsory basic training for motorcyclists to improve road safety?
So, the government is, of course, completely committed to ensuring that motorcyclists are equipped with the specialist skills necessary to stay safe on the road. I will write to the Noble Baroness with further details of what might be proposed in the future to improve the competence of motorcycle drivers.
my Lords, is the Minister sympathetic to the argument that there are quite a number of older drivers who are driving beyond the point when they're fit to be safe on the roads? Could that be dealt with? Not nobody here. But my Lords, granted there is a difficulty in having enough driving tests at the moment, would it not be a good aim that people, say, over the age of 75 should do a driving test again every couple of years?
I thank my noble friend. I'm afraid I am already one of those people who is subject to the more rigorous requirements, and as a vocational licence holder and over the age of 70 I now have to have a medical every year. The current driving licence arrangements take into account the risks that an individual poses to road safety. They're designed to be fair and proportionate to all drivers who remain fit and competent to drive, regardless of age.
But will the government, while acknowledging that there may be a case for a graduated driving licence, also look at the issues which are causing most of the accidents on our roads, and perhaps just re-look again at the penalties that are there for using the phone while driving?
I thank the noble Lord for that thought, and of course he has great experience in this matter. The government is very conscious of the principal reasons for fatalities and serious injuries, and I will certainly take away the thought that we should look further, though I would say that the penalties now and the enforcement of driving whilst using a mobile phone are very stringent.
My Lords, on the subject of driving test dates, what steps was the government going to take to prevent the exploitation of learner drivers who are unable to get a date through the conventional route and have to use these dodgy websites who buy dates in bulk and then sell them off at a massively inflated price?
Good question.
The government would completely agree that it's quite wrong that people should need to use what was referred to as dodgy websites, which is obviously a technical term, and the Driver and Vehicles Services Agency has closed down several hundred of those websites by enforcing more strictly the rules by which people can obtain driving tests. The correct way to obtain a driving test for a learner driver is firstly to prepare themselves so that the date that they select is a date when they can pass, and secondly to do it through the DVSA website or through their...
I draw attention to my interest. One of the issues for young drivers is the enormous cost of insurance, and the insurance industry would like to help address that, and therefore a probation period or maybe a zero alcohol for the first 5 years or for underage might be a way of helping insurance companies to be able to produce better rates for young drivers for whom a car can be essential if they're to work. So would the Noble Lord the Minister agree to look at a range of possibilities so we can keep young people on the road but keep them there safely?
Of course, we would all have to agree that insurance is absolutely necessary, and the costs of it have been rising, and indeed my noble right honourable friend the Secretary of State for Transport has instituted a review with the aid of industry about the cost of insurance. There are a number of ideas which would help young drivers obtain insurance, some of which need great thought to make sure that they're enforceable. But the primary way that they can get insurance and remain safe is to properly practice for the test, to take the test, to be successful, and then drive with the same safety that we want everybody on the roads to have.
My Lords, may I return to the question asked by the noble Baroness Lady Pigeon? The noble Lord the Minister replied as if she was asking a question about motorcycles, but unless I misunderstood, I think she was asking a question as much about electrically powered bicycles used for deliveries as about motorcycles. And would the noble Lord the Minister agree that the licensing system has now become completely incoherent in that you have electrically powered bicycles that are more powerful in some cases than smaller motorcycles, yet one requires a license, the other doesn't. One to be driven, the driver requires a license, the other doesn't. Will the Minister agree to a wholesale review of the system, which is now breaking down?
I would say that the driving licence system is not breaking down. What we're seeing is new cycles, but some of them are not in fact cycles. If they're adapted to do more than 15.5 miles an hour, they're in fact not cycles. They should be subject to the licensing regulations for motor vehicles and motorcycles, and that definition is very clear. What is going on, however, is at least a number of users who are adapting these vehicles illegally, adapting these bicycles illegally, turning them into vehicles but not subjecting themselves to proper licensing, and it will have to be for the enforcement authorities to find and catch those people, as in fact some of them have done.